Choosing a Thanksgiving turkey is a wonderful holiday tradition. Each year, thousands of Americans call their local farmer and ask them to give them their biggest, juiciest looking turkey, but not before taking it away from its family, killing, boiling, and preparing it, and wrapping it up so the customer's family can celebrate how great it is to come together and be thankful for the life they have and the family that they can spend that time with. It will be a great tradition for many years to come until the turkeys, of course, begin making weapons out of chicken wire and they come to overthrow their tone-deaf overlords. I also can't wait for the Turkocalypse. We're going to have to wait until next week's episode for that. But in the meantime, this is College Success Coaching, and I'm Eric Allen. That's great. So I want to know, what is it that you do? If you can, here's a poll I will put out there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome, welcome. I am happy to have you here, but why aren't you subscribed? It takes no time at all. Go into collegesuccesscoaching.com. You can go on to I'm Ready. Yes, I'm ready. And you can sign up for the free 2-week trial. And then you get everything cool that we just did. You'll get to see take 1 and take 2 of this intro that we did today. And you will also get the ability to go online, get all the resources and amazing things that I have prepared just for my members. And you'll also be able to ask questions and then get answers to all of your most difficult questions. And the easy ones I'll even answer correctly. It'll be wonderful. And I can't wait to have you there. So the poll of the week is, what will you typically have at your Thanksgiving dinner? If it is turkey, that's fine. You don't have to just be boring. But you could say turkey, Chinese. You could have ham. I know people who do that. You could have steak, or you can have other. Can't wait for other. So there you go. I'm throwing that out there for you all. And if you could go ahead and answer, that'd be great. Again, if you're on YouTube, just throw that in the comments section. And if you're doing the Q&A, because none of those answers fit, you can always throw that in there too. I can't wait to talk about those at the end. And we are going to give all the answers to all those poll questions next week for our wonderful Thanksgiving Turkocalypse episode of College Success Coaching. All right. So again, I want to go over the mug of the week. I know I got to shine it for all you lovely people, but you didn't get to hear what it says. It is the coffee mug, but it's epic. The damage is 1. The weight is 0.5. The value is 18, which is pretty good, although the vendors probably only give you like a gold for it. But it is especially effective against sleepiness. Isn't that special? It's great when something is effective against sleepiness. It's not great when there's giant flashy lights on it so that it's really hard to see it. But hey, you know, when I get that better improved studio, I'll still probably have a lot of reflection on mugs. I don't know how to fix that, honestly. Write to me. Tell me how. Oh, that is good coffee anyway. It is epic, actually. I'm pretty impressed with it. So, without further ado, we should probably talk about the article of the week. This week, I want to talk about a surprising secret to a long life. Stay in school. That's right. Being in school doesn't just seem like it lasts forever. It actually lets you last forever. So this is an article on health from the New York Times. This is from their New Age section, which I'm not sure what is so New Agey about research on longevity, but okay. A surprising secret to a long life was written by Gina Colada. And this was January 3rd of 2007. So this person's probably the exact same age as they were before because they unlocked the secret. James Smith, a health economist at the Rand Corporation, has heard a variety of hypotheses about what it takes to live a long life. Money, lack of stress, a loving family, lots of friends, but he has been a skeptic. Also, he is the Iron Fist since he's from the Rand Corporation. So he really doubts a lot of things, which makes for a really terrible season 1 and season 2, which is probably why they got canceled. But, you know, that's just me. Yes, he says it is clear that on average, some groups in every society live longer than others. The rich live longer than the poor. Whites live longer than blacks in the United States. Longevity, in general, is not evenly distributed in the population. But what, he asks, is the cause, and what, he also asks, is the effect? And how can they be disentangled? Okay. He is venturing, of course, into one of the prevailing mysteries of aging, the persistent differences seen in the lifespans of large groups. In every country, there is an average lifespan for the nation as a whole, and there are average lifespans for different subsets based on rage. Rage? Yes, rage. I guess that would be rage. If you get angry too much, you could probably die sooner, or if you're around people who have too much rage. I'm sure rage is a demographic. I want to study that. Ooh, maybe it's in the Turkocalypse. Anyway, the question for researchers like Dr. Smith are why and what really matters. The answers, he and others say, have been a surprise. The one social factor that researchers agree is consistently linked to longer living in every country where it has been studied is education. It is more important than race. It obliterates any effect of income. So literally how much you make is not as important as whether or not you're being educated currently. So you guys are actually being given the fountain of youth right now. Super excited for you. Year after year and study after study, says Richard Hodes, director of the National Institute on Aging. Well, that sounds pretty official, and it has the word aging in it, so we should believe him. Education keeps coming up. I love these out of context quotes where it's just like the end of a sentence, and you don't know if there was something else that where he's just like, turkeys getting chickens and getting together and taking the chicken wire and turning it into weapons and starting the Turkopolis keeps coming up. But they just take that keeps coming up section and they staple it onto the bottom of the sentence of like, director of the National Institute on Aging Education keeps coming up. Like, I don't know. It could be the Turkopolis. I'm just saying. And health economists say, for those factors that are popularly believed to be crucial, money and health insurance, for example, pale in comparison. Dr. Smith explains, wait, is this a different person? Before it was Richard Hodes. Now we're on to Dr. Smith. Whoa. And Dr. Smith doesn't really have any credentials here. So some doctor says, giving people more Social Security income, or less for that matter, will not really affect people's health. Tell that to Congress. It is a good thing to do for other reasons, but not for health. Health insurance, too, he says, is vastly overrated in the policy debate. Again, talk to Congress, not me. Instead, Dr. Smith, random doctor, and others, random others, woohoo! This is a consensus, guys. What may make the biggest difference is keeping young people in school. A few extra years of school is associated with extra years of life and vastly improved health decades later in old age. So here we go, guys. Fail every year until you get to stay 3 years longer in school, and you will live forever. That's clearly what this article is saying. I mean, random doctor and random others say that it makes the biggest difference in keeping people young. All right, that's a wrap. I'll see you guys. I'm going to go back to school. Oh, it is not the only factor, of course, the article continues. There is smoking, which sharply curtails lifespan. Ooh. Yeah, we talked about that. Remember the whole vaping pen thing and everything? Just, don't do drugs. There is a connection between having a network of friends and family and living a long and healthy life. And there is evidence that people with more powerful jobs and presumably with more control over their work lives are healthier and longer lived. I will be here for a long time, guys. I have a lot of control over my work life. I think you have to work first. Anyway. I'm going to live forever. So are you, because we're both going to be in education for a while. But there is little dispute about the primacy of education. If you were to ask me what affects health and longevity, says Michael Grossman, a health economist at the City University of New York, I would put education at the top of my list. Ooh, this is one of the random others. But, at least they have some kind of credential. Then this article gets into how this was found out. It was in 1999. A Columbia University grad student figured out something about a paper published in 1969. And there was this inflammatory statement. It said that education in and of itself caused good health. But then there were two other possibilities. Maybe sick children did not go to school or dropped out early because they were ill. Or maybe education was a proxy for wealth and it was wealth that led to health. It could be that richer parents who gave their children everything, including better nutrition, better medical care, and better education, had children who, by virtue of being wealthy, lived longer. How, she asked herself, this was the grad student, could she sort out cause and effect? It was the chicken and egg problem, and presumably the turkey problem, after all, the razor wire weapons, that plagues such research and us all at the Turkopolis. The answer came one day when Dr. Yiras Muni was, another doctor, was reading another economics paper. It indicated that about 100 years ago, different states started passing laws forcing children to go to school for longer periods. She knew what to do. The idea was when a state, do you know what that was from, by the way? It's Superman, but like from the 1980s. So you could go watch that now because it was one of the last good DC movies. Ooh, sick burn. Anyway, they were forced to go to school for 6 years, and they lived as long as the people who in the next year had to go for 7 years. Also, she would have to go back and find the laws in the different states and then use data from the census to find out how long people lived before and after the law in each state was changed. I was very excited for about 3 seconds, she said. Then she realized how onerous it could be to comb through the state archive. Don't do drugs, but do research, even though it sometimes makes you feel like you need to do drugs. Then still don't do drugs. Because, the smoking thing and longevity. We're talking about living forever here, guys. You can't do that if you don't do research and you do drugs. But when her analysis was finished, she was surprised, really surprised. It turned out the life expectancy at age 35 was extended by as much as 1.5 years simply by going to school for 1 extra year. So 1.5 for every year of school. So if you want to live to be 200 and the average lifespan's like 87, you really only have to go to school for another 100 years. Da-da-da, the more you know. Man, do you guys even know what that is? Anyway, she won a prize, and that was great in the Review of Economic Studies. And you might think that forcing someone to go to school who does not want to be there may not be the same thing as going to school because you want to, and that did not seem to be the case. But not everybody was convinced. Victor Fuchs, a health economist at Stanford, points out that it is not clear how or why education would lead to longer life. Sounds like this doctor's trying to hold out, and they're just in school forever. From Stanford. And he said there are other mysteries. For example, women increase their years of schooling more than men have in recent decades, but men are catching up with women in their lifespans. So what's up with that? Did it look like the camera froze? I was just trying that out. Anyway, so there were a lot of other things. Smokers are at least twice as likely to die at any age as people who never smoked. And this was from a Samuel Preston, a demographer at the University of Pennsylvania. And not only are poorly educated people more likely to smoke, but he says everybody knows that smoking can be deadly, and that includes the poorly educated. So I don't know what to do with that, really. There's a lot of confounding variables. But anyway, education, Dr. Smith and Rand finds, Danny included, may somehow teach people to delay gratification. For example, he reported that in one large federal study of middle-aged people, those with less education were less able to think ahead. So like when you're running and there's train tracks, they don't look for the train and they get hit by it. And that's why they live shorter lives. So don't do drugs, do research, don't run in front of trains. Okay. An observation on the street. In the 1970s, Lisa Berkman, now a professor of public policy at the Harvard School of Public Health, took a part-time job at a San Francisco healthcare center. It drew people from Chinatown and the city's Italian neighborhood, North Beach, as well as from the Tenderloin district. That's a cool place, actually. Check that out. Also, Tenderloin's delicious. A poor area where homeless people lived on the streets and mentally ill people roamed. That's like most of that city. And she noticed something striking. In Chinatown and North Beach, there were these tightly bound social networks. You saw old people with young people. In the Tenderloin, people were just sort of dumped. People were really isolated and did not have ways of figuring out how to make things work. A few years later, she was haunted by that observation. Ooh, she was in my Halloween episode. She had entered graduate school and was studying Seventh-day Adventists when she began to wonder whether the standard explanation for their longer lives, a healthy vegetarian diet, was enough. Those Seventh-day Adventists, they're so tricky. They were a decreased risk from many, many diseases, even ones where diet was not implicated, Dr. Berkman says. And she adds, it seems they simply had a slower rate of aging. They unlocked the secret of youth. They all went to school. Let's see if that's true. Seventh-day Adventists, like the people in Chinatown and North Beach, had incredibly cohesive social networks, Dr. Berkman notes. Could that be the clue? Seventh day. Okay, so 30 years later, studies have borne out her hunch. The risks of being socially isolated are phenomenal, Dr. Berkman says, associated with 2-fold and 5-fold increases in mortality rates. So don't do drugs, do research, don't run in front of trains, and don't isolate yourself. Yeah. The correlations emerged in study after study and in country after country. So this whole article could really just be about like being social and not isolated, not education. So more than genes and luck, it actually says too. And then here's a bunch of quotes from a bunch of people. When it comes to changing things, says Dr. Skinner, the Dartmouth economist, we are in uncharted territory. So after all of this, we went from being in school makes you live longer, to smoking will kill you regardless, to having a strong cohesive social network and not isolating will make you live longer, to uncharted territory where we really don't know where we are or what we're doing. Great. Fantastic. Thank you, New York Times. What a bastion for fantastic writing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. This was really important information, actually, because the idea here is that educating yourself and being in a community really does help keep your life healthier and make you live longer. And it prevents a whole slew of diseases and problems that you would have otherwise, or at least you'd be at risk for. So what does that mean for us? Well, this is a community where we talk about education and we value it and we push for more of it, and for like being in school longer, right? College success coaching. I know that you would be in high school right now if you're watching this on the live stream, but you might be watching this on YouTube and you're not in sophomore year of high school, and that's fine. You still got to read the article and you found out that, hey, you should probably join up with college success coaching because you'll live longer. We'll have a community here. You can talk to people. You're accountable to people. I'm right here. Hi, I'm awesome to talk to, and I answer some of your questions. And also you will be involved in the education process. You can even stay a part of this community through comments and subscribing, the newsletter, the emails, all of that. And then that'll keep you alive that 1.5 years per year you're involved in this. So stick around for another 100 years and we'll both live together forever. Thank you very much for watching. And this has been The Art.